It was late April 1963, and the Birmingham campaign, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Fred L. Shuttleworth, was failing in any type of promise to desegregate Birmingham or improve quality of life for African Americans, even after weeks of boycotts, sit-ins, and arrests to garner the attention of the city's government.
The two civil rights leaders came to the conclusion that their failures were caused by the lack of media covering and reporting their actions, and set up a meeting with other civil rights leaders to discuss the situation. James Bevel and Ike Reynolds suggested that they get the youth to participate, since around 150 showed great interest in contributing to the movement. Upon his proposal, King was wary, as he did not want to expose the young to the potential danger that rallies could cause. But he eventually agreed to host a rally on May 2nd, where high school students would participate in a school boycott to march peacefully to City Hall.
As the high schoolers marched towards City Hall, they faced the Birmingham police force that was waiting there to arrest them.
The adolescent activists peacefully submitted and were sent to jail. This pattern continued to the point that 2,000 protesters were jailed at one time.
From May 3rd to May 4th, even though the high schoolers were continuing to march peacefully, Bull Connor, a commissioner in Birmingham who opposed the civil rights movement, employed high-pressure hoses and dogs on the protesters to discourage them from marching. Instead of this violence ensued by Connor and the police discouraging the protesters, it strongly unified the African American community in Birmingham to continue to fight, and even brought new, passionate supporters to the movement. At the same time, the entire crusade was being broadcasted and written about in news media, making the American public aware of the terrible events that were occurring in their own country and to their own youth.
Like the rest of the country, President John F. Kennedy was horrified of the violence that occurred towards America's own children that day. So on June 11, 1963, he called for a civil rights bill to prohibit racial discrimination and eliminate segregation in schools, employment, and public areas. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, which included these aspects and signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, entailed that there would be no discrimination of race, color, religion, and sex in the workplace, and that desegregation in public places will take place.
The Birmingham Children's Crusade is considered one of the most violent, but one of the most successful civil rights movements in the era, and thanks to the high schoolers who stood up for themselves and their community that day, the lives of the African Americans across the country changed forever.